Welcome back, Chico and the Grin, episode 17. We're here live from Harlem. I am half your host, Chico,
Other half the grin.
and we're here with two very special guests. This is they're our second set of guests because our first attempt was Goya, and we couldn't figure that out. Yeah. Then it was microaggression, where the microphones wouldn't work.
Yes.
And today we have Cortez
Yes.
and Carla.
Yeah.
Carla de la
Carla de
Puerto
Puerto Rico.
There we go. So are you both artists?
Well, I sing, and I'm finishing my bachelor's in communication studies.
And I'm an artist. I'm a visual artist from New York.
All right. John, you've known them for quite some time, yeah?
Yes.
All right, so I'll let you lead off the night of whatever's to come.
The dun to dun.
That's right.
All right, so let's get down to it. So the main I decided to invite Cortez over, in particular because of the recent news events that came out about 5 Points. Okay.
Are those your goddamn notes?
This is from.
He's got notes.
This is everything. This is from like. No.
I was just talking about Freeform.
But check it. No. Hold up. This isn't about. These notes aren't from the podcast.
Oh, okay. Because
These notes.
I have my notes. It's like 3 lines.
No,
and
no.
I look at that. I'm like, what is this? Are those bullet points?
But see, you look at this. radar satellite, hollow Earth opening, age of
Okay.
exploration, Norse mythology, Greek mythology, Richard Dewhurst,
Throw me in between the Greek mythology and
imaginary worlds.
Norse.
This is like everything that I go through during the day.
All right.
And if I find out like something I got to research, the Vedic text, the Pranas,
Gotcha.
Dean Dominic DeLuca, Peter's projection world map. That was pretty cool.
All right.
Have y'all seen that?
I got freaked out a little bit when I saw that.
That's one of the most accurate maps of the planet Earth.
All right.
The Peter's projection map.
I want to hear
flat?
about that. Have you heard?
It's very warped, but it's amazing.
No.
Because if you look up, and I'm not going to some conspiracy, but if you just see a map of Earth, right, it's not accurate. If you look up an accurate map of Earth, you'll see how small the United States is, how large Africa is. It's crazy. So the only person who was ever to come up with what they say is an accurate projection of the planet is the Peters map, Peters projection world
you
map.
should have checked that out. I've never.
I want to
looked at
buy
that
it.
before.
It does not look like a normal map. Everything is all warped because the way he created it was if we're on an oval shape, this is how the planets are this is how the continents are when you lay them flat.
I feel like the only accurate map would be like a 3D map, like a hologram map or something. Would be the
but
only
what would
real
they base
accurate
that off of?
satellite imagery or
No,
some shit.
Satellites. That's a key word. That's another key word.
We're
that
not going there
smalls
tonight.
off.
Trigger words.
Trigger word. Satellite.
We're not going there tonight. Tonight we're gonna keep it focused on art.
See, I'm a laugher.
You know? So Cortez NYC, he's a graffiti artist.
Yes.
Been one for
Long time.
a long time. I'm gonna tell you like this. I think I told you when I first met you. I used to see your stuff in Source all the time as
Oh,
wax.
shit. Yeah.
Seriously.
All right.
But yeah, he's been writing for
Fanboy.
decades. I'm not a fanboy.
Oh shit.
But he was invited tonight because of the recent events that went down in 5 Points in a court case in New York, and in particular, not just 5 Points, but the result of the trial. And how it was a victory for not just him and the 21 artists involved, but it was a victory for artists in general.
Word.
And I wanted to bring him on here to tell the story. We spoke a little bit, Gomez and I, about the case from what we read online and what we heard about on the news. But, originally I wanted to get Cortez on here a long time ago before the trial was even won.
All caps. He's talking in all caps.
I wish
But-
there was a video so you all could see what
But he blew-
smalls look
but
like when
I
he
wish
just
you
said
could
that.
see the sound bar on this
But
fucking podcast.
he was like, I'm too busy. But he finally decided to come on the show. So I was like, all right,
Listen,
tell us what's going on.
first of all, okay, disclaimer. I did not come on your show because what you talk about, I don't know if I'm the perfect fit for it. All right,
It's art. We
what
talk
you're gonna
about
hear,
art.
what you're gonna hear is two guys arguing about a lot of shit, and I don't think you want that. I think there's enough of that over here between the Chico and the Grin. You don't need Chico, the Grin, and the Cortez.
There you go.
All right, but secondly, I wanted to support the podcast because I did see that you've really been putting work into this podcast. I think it's a good thing that you're doing. I think you guys are making a serious effort, and I think you guys have a
We
good
try.
chemistry going on.
Thank
So
you very much.
I really said, let me take advantage to come now that I have something to say, to come and support and also kind of like spread a little information. So
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, before we get into the whole 5 points, why don't you tell us, because I'm not super familiar with your work, but myself and the listeners, a little bit about your background in art and graffiti and how you got to where you are today.
All right,
It's a long one.
yeah, it's a long one. I'll make it brief.
Abbreviate it.
Yeah, so I started doing graffiti back. Well, I was born and raised in New York. I started doing graffiti back in the 90s. That's when I started kind of getting my fame. And I was doing rooftops and handball courts and all that kind of stuff. I was mostly known for my lettering work and my character work and all that kind of stuff. This is back in the day when you did have the Source magazine and you had Flashbacks magazine and Videograph and all these things were the media at the time. There was no Instagram or YouTube or anything for that. So if you got fame, it was like, if you got any recognition, it was really hard to get, and it was something that you really worked hard for. So that was the 90s. In the 2000s, I was already kind of a commercial artist. I had already done stuff for rap groups in New York. I was already doing logo work and video work. I did, one of my big accomplishments was J. Rue the Damager, Can't Stop the Profit. I did an animated music video for that.
Hand animation, right?
Hand animation, drawn by hand. So by 2000s, I became a commercial artist. I was already kind of just working in the fashion industry. That's where I met Mr. Smalls, The Grin, working in the clothing industry. Yeah, I interviewed The Grin. I discovered The Grin.
How times have changed. Who's being interviewed now?
Tables turn.
Shoes on the other foot.
But I basically came up, doing graffiti in the 90s, and then in the 2000s more of a commercial artist, and then now towards the mid 2000s, coming into like now that we're into like 2018 now. I can't even think. At this point, YouTube. I have a YouTube channel with a lot of my graffiti videos on there. I was painting at 5 Points in 2006, and I kind of recorded all of that. And this process of documenting my graffiti work and making it accessible to the millennials, repackaging graffiti so that it's not aerosol street art, but now it's something that you could find. If you're in Germany, you could find it online. If you're on Instagram or Twitter, you can find me. That was a hustle, and that took a bit of work. But I'm one of those artists that didn't just kind of wither away, but kind of like progress with the times and continue.
Evolved.
Yeah.
I already feel so inspired. I'm not even joking.
But yeah, so that's my history with graffiti art and art. The 5 Points case, like I said, that was something that I started painting at 5 Points in 2006. I was friends with Jonathan Mears Cohen, who was the curator of 5 Points. In 2006, I went back to 5 Points to paint. We painted a series of murals. Eventually, in 2013, the landlord decided to break a court order and whitewash the building, and that created the whole thing that was the case, and that
Wow,
is
that's been going on since 2013.
When did you start doing
Holy shit.
the big
the up high.
three-story ones? Yeah,
The up high walls. Yeah, that was. I did those in 2009.
If you probably don't know about those. It's when the very top of 5 Points, I guess it was like 3 stories at least, the top 3 stories, maybe more. Shit, I don't know. They were on what's it called, a scaffolding? What was that thing
Yeah, we
called?
were up on a what they call a cherry picker.
A cherry picker, yeah.
wow.
Man, when I say it was huge, it was huge. It was like, imagine like gigantic, elongated skulls that
Yeah.
he would do with these gigantic teeth, deformed skulls. But seriously, it was just massive on the side of a building.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and then looking at it, I was like,
I've
God
only ever seen
damn,
5 Points
man.
once before they whitewashed it. And
Oh,
I was in high school. So that's
Nah.
2000.
Oh shit, you were, because we met in 2009.
Right. I graduated
Yeah,
in
I
2007.
forgot, yeah.
So
You graduated what in 2007?
high school.
Okay.
Yeah. I get that a lot.
When we
Well,
met, you just turned 21.
Well, yeah, when I met, I had just
Yeah.
turned 21. I had never been to a bar
I
before.
remember. Yup.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's how long I've known him.
That's
So I
incredible.
probably was like going by on the train, watching you paint. Like, oh, look at that, that's cool.
Yeah. Wow. and I'm thinking of 2007. Like that was like I was already like, yeah, I'm like an old timer.
We did the Mecca mural in 2007.
Huh?
We did that Mecca
Yeah,
mural.
yeah.
That was
Yeah.
2007.
Wow. Okay. Now I get a time frame. All right. Yeah, I'm old school.
There you go. That's
All
why.
right.
It's-
Chico, the grinning grandpa.
So the 5 Points thing happens. From what I read, it's protected under the VACA Act,
Vera.
and it's because the artists are recognizable.
Right. So because the owner whitewashed the building without giving us 90 days notice for us to decide what we would do with our art, there is a Visual Artists' Rights Act. It's called VARA for short, right? Yeah. And this was started in the 90s, and it's only been used in court maybe 2 other times. So it's a new law. It's something that doesn't have a long history. So we discovered that that's what through lawyers we found out that's what we could do to protect our rights as artists and to defend the fact that he had whitewashed our work. Because of the Visual Artists' Rights Act, we were able to win in the court case and make him pay. Well, I don't know. He's appealing it now. He's appealing it, but we can enforce him to pay, the damages, which I think is like up to $150,000 per piece.
Right. The last thing I saw was it was being it's like $6.1 million, something like that.
6.7 cumulative between all the artists and
21 artists.
21 artists, and every artist had different amount of pieces. Some artists were collaborative, so if you had a collaborative, you have half and half. You split the money. But these are numbers that are placed in the law. So this is the maximum that he could get. This is not numbers that we came up with, or let's say the actual value of the pieces or anything. It's not like a sale or an auction. This is just strictly a punishment.
Isn't it like a formula that the lawyers have? It's like when they come out with a settlement, it's a formula based off of other information.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Not anything you had to do with.
So in this particular case, because the landlord proved that he did it maliciously, and he literally in court, spelled out, like he's like, yeah, the judge asked him, now that you know that VARA exists, and now that you know that that this is breaking the law, I mean, you regret doing it, right? And he was like, oh, no, I would do it again, knowing what I know now. I did the right thing. Yeah, no, he literally said, I did the right thing. I would do it again. And I think all that, he just kind of dug his own grave. You know what I mean? He really did it to himself. We were lucky. I mean, he's going to appeal. We're still in the middle of it. But as of where we are right now, we were very lucky that he was such a villainous character. Like, it was so Scooby-Doo, it wasn't even funny. We were like, I can't, like when he came up and he started speaking, we're like, I can't believe this guy's talking like this. Like, all 21 artists, you had a court case that took a month. 21 artists, each one of us took at least an hour talking about our history, where we came from, showing our portfolio, showing everything, talking about everything, and talking about every single piece in depth. And that took a complete month, Monday through Friday in court. And we all presented ourselves as professionally as we could and everything. So to hear him just come up and be like, well, fuck that, I don't give a shit, I'll do this shit anyway. I was like, why did we even bother? Like,
hold up. So did you have to take off from work all this time?
I was taking off of work and everything, man. Like,
wow.
That goes into like some of the, online, there's a lot of people that are like questioning like which artists got to be part of the case and why certain people and not other people. Not everybody has the time to invest into this. You know what I mean? Not everybody can afford to invest in it, into the court case and into like releasing your tax papers, releasing all your information. I don't know how comfortable you would be to release your personal information, your histories and everything. Some artists might have things that are not related to art in their history that they don't want to reveal.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Public.
Yeah, and it's not even something negative, because I don't think there was anybody who had any kind of background. But I just think in general, artists don't think of that when they become artists.
Did each individual artist in the case have to get their own lawyer as well?
No, we had one lawyer.
Okay, so it's one guy.
So that's another reason why, even though there was hundreds of artists painting at 5 points, at the end it ended up being 21, because we ended up with lawyers that we all of us absorbed, you know what I mean, as a group. And the lawyers were just kind of like working with whoever could work with them. It's not like we all had our own lawyers and we were like, oh yeah, I'm here to represent blah, 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 and his full rights. It just kind of happened fast, and everybody just kind of jumped in, and whoever could jump in and afford to do it just jumped in and said, all right, I'm part of this. So I think that one of the lessons there for artists is like, always be prepared. You know what I mean? You never know what might pop off, and always be ready to jump into something like that if you have to. Have your stuff clean. Have your documents clean, your taxes clean. Have as much as you can. You already have the chip stacked against you as an artist. You don't need to make it worse by having some sort of shit in your closet. You know what I mean? Like, you might as well be as straightforward as you can with your money, with your, you know what I mean, all your legal shit. That way, if something comes up and somebody tries to take advantage of you, you can defend yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Be a businessman. Or
Businessman. Yeah, or woman.
So this guy, I mean, like I said, I don't know much about the 5 points in general, but I'm assuming the guy who whitewashed it, the landlord, didn't own it for that long. Like, is he
owned it for a long time.
really? And he just decided out of the blue to do this one day.
No. So, all right. So that's the part maybe I could explain. So he bought this building in the 70s. It was like an old water.
Wow.
Yeah, it was an old waterworks factory.
Oh, I know exactly where this is going.
And he just sat on it.
You ever heard about the Funk Factory?
No.
So that was
Oh shit,
yeah.
Basquiat in Warhol.
Oh, yes, that makes sense.
That was it.
So this guy bought this factory in the 70s. He sat on the property. He rented it out for like cheap prices. Put no work into renovating. Barely kept it up to code. As a matter of fact, he has violations against him for asbestos and all kinds of other shit in the building that he never kept to code. So he just sat on this building all these years, waiting for the opportunity to have his clearance to be able to do these condos he wanted to do. And because of the zoning and all that, they wouldn't give it to him. He would, I don't know what the hell these guys do behind the scenes. I don't know who they're paying off. I don't know what are they waiting for to get their clearances. But eventually he got his clearance. And the only thing in his way was the fact that this building became this landmark, this graffiti art mecca. You know what I mean? A world-renowned center for graffiti art where people would actually, it was in travel books. I mean, I literally have travel books where it says, when you're in New York, visit 5 Points, and it has all the artists listed and everything. So he didn't expect it was going to become that. And I don't think he paid attention. I think he just let whatever happens, and he thought it's just some graffiti on a building. He didn't realize, no, that building that you don't give a shit about is actually a landmark now.
Right.
So when he realized that, what he decided to do, and he realized that some of the artists took him to court initially for an injunction to try to prevent him from demolishing the building and continuing his plans. And when the same judge, realized, look, legally I can't stop him from building.
It's his property.
It's his property. But the judge did warn him and told him, and he warned him, if you do something to the artwork there, I'm not sure if you're going to be violating VARA laws. And he was like, fuck it. And within the next 2 days, he buffed the entire building.
Rolled them dice.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, if he would have given us 90 days, all good. It would have been like on us. You know what I mean? But because he just went ahead, he didn't even let the judge officially proclaim his ruling before he went ahead and buffed the building. Wow. And that's why this same judge, now back in his court, he was like, well, I did warn you.
Yeah. No, it's true.
So, I mean, there's a lot of sympathizers out there that are like, oh, but it's a landlord, and he, what about property rights? But the guy's a dick. You got to do a little research. The guy was an animal. You got to research him.
It's an interesting situation because at the same time, I totally side with the artists because it's a very important landmark. It's a recognizable location in New York City. Mm-hmm. It very much embodies what New York City was at one point.
Yep.
But on the other, it's like the last.
Now it does even more.
Yeah, it's like it's weird how that works, right? It represents now. It looks like a modern New York City building, or what's going to be a modern New York City building. But on the other side of that coin, like I totally get, like if I was him, like and that was my building, like why it's my building? If I want to paint dicks on it, I'll paint dicks on it. Like it's mine.
Yeah.
But again, like I can see both sides of the coin, but him being a dick probably didn't help.
What about you, Grin? I never really heard your opinion. I'm assuming that you're on my side, but we never know on this show. Aliens.
I mean, looking at the facts, I get it. It's like, I think the guy was being an asshole by not wanting to work it out. I think he should have worked it out somehow, and he let Mears take over and handle it and put all that effort into it to make it a spot that's known, and just to be like, nah, I'm going to do what I want. It's like, nah, man, at least work it out somehow, whether he knocks down the building and he opens up a new spot and have new artists come in. Because I remember you said that on the Bonfire Radio, there's going to be a new building with new art.
That's another element I'll tell you about in a second. Yeah.
There's something I feel like he could have worked it out. Even if it was like, I don't care, I'm getting rid of this building, but at least let's work on something new. but just to be a dick about it, it's like,
Yeah.
nah, man,
I mean-
that's just not cool. And I mean, I had my own feelings about 5 Points because I wasn't allowed to paint there.
Ah, hater.
Oh, someone's mad. Someone's tight.
So
Aliens.
I'm be honest. When I heard 5 Points was shut down, I was like, I don't care.
See, you see? That's what this show's about. This show's
Oh,
all about this
that's
shit.
so good.
That's what the grin's all about.
So he's like, I don't care
Because
I didn't get to paint there.
because I was told that I can't paint there because I'm not a graph writer. I was like, fine, whatever. It's cool.
Well, that goes to show you,
You know.
not to put shade on you.
It's curated. It's
Yes.
a curated museum, essentially.
Yes.
You have to be of a certain pedigree in that given art to be allowed to participate.
It wasn't just a graffiti spot for
Right.
any knucklehead to come and
Exactly.
paint.
It's not the side
Eyes
of a train
were-
car.
Eyes were really on who's painting here.
Yes.
But you could be a novice. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not like only celebrities could paint there, but they were paying attention. There was people that really were paying attention to. It's a culture, and who's coming in, and are you really about this, or do you just want a good place for you to advertise? And there was a lot of street art there. There was weed pasters. There was people that did like.
Right.
But
you
no
know,
John Smalls.
I think Smalls. I think your genre is different, and I think
Yeah.
you found your genre. And it's
Yeah.
not to put shade on you because we've painted. I mean,
Yes.
you and I have painted walls, and we've done a
Yes.
lot of stuff, man. This
Yeah.
dude went with me to Puerto Rico. You know, we talked about that just
Yeah.
recently. But yeah, but like, no, I think that's another point of evidence, and I think a lot of artists out there should recognize that Mears put a lot of effort into making sure that he respected the old timers from before my time, the new kids coming up, like the culture of graffiti, like making sure that it was really upheld there. And you think the landlord gave a shit? He didn't pay attention to that shit. Like, he didn't give a fuck. To him, it was just bricks and steel. He just wanted to get rid of it and put up better bricks and steel. Not fuck bricks, it's just steel and glass. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's all he cared about.
But let me say, it's like, yeah, I crack jokes and I say, like, you know, I wasn't allowed to paint there, but 5 Points itself was like, it was a dope spot, period. It was a dope spot, you know, and I've been there for events, and it's like afterwards you go to the bar that was right on the corner around it, you know, or you go to the diner that was across the street. It was a cool spot. And like, even if I never painted there, just going by there and saying what's up to the people. And there was a few, Martha Lisa had a few events there where she did the whole, what was it, Artist Way, or she did something where everybody did
Process.
artist process, yeah. And there was one time when I did a letter, and everybody, all the different artists would do a different letter, and she would film it. And there was a few times when I went out there, and it wasn't a block party, but it was like you had the people painting, you had people hanging out. I remember one time, Conscious from Bonfire Radio, he was rapping on back when they had
At 5 Points?
yeah, when
He
they
didn't
had
tell me that shit.
But check it, back
He didn't say that to me when I was on the show.
He went by Bronx Uber Villain. That was his other alias. But back when they had the stairs, because I remember I was like, this dude he's like ramen, and he was up on like a fire escape. Because I remember you said they took him down. So this was a while ago.
Yeah. That was,
This was a-
yeah. If
this
it was
was
on
a while
Fire Escape,
ago.
That was a long time ago.
And but yeah, I remember going 5 Points like on the weekend. Somebody would be like, "Yo, there's this going on over there." And I would this back when I lived in Brooklyn, I would ride over there on my bike. But it was just a dope spot, and it was one of those places that still existed that reminded you of an old New York. Yeah. And I came to New York in 2001, so I didn't know like the '90s version of New York. You know what I'm saying? But being at 5 Points and you kick it with all these people from like all the different boroughs, and like everybody's a genuine New Yorker. You know what I'm saying? Like, not like this, I moved from fucking Ohio shit. It was like you got to meet people who was like from
Now there's only people from Ohio.
the love, you know? Yeah, man.
Now there's only people from Ohio.
But let me get an opinion from my other
I just
half over
appreciate
here.
it, you know?
Cara de Puerto Rico. I think you should say something. Here, pass the mic.
No, that I think that the problem with the owner was that he didn't know how to deal with the artists in the building. Like, he saw everything that they were doing. They were doing the art, but they were also completing and making the community come together to create something new. And even to have shows, to have events, to have things happening, how he didn't realize that this was going to become something big and something that everybody was going to recognize. My impression of what?
Yeah, 5 Points. You got to see it.
Yeah, I got to see it just once.
Just once?
Yeah.
She was in Puerto Rico at the time.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, yeah, I saw it for a day, an afternoon, but it was
Oh,
great.
So after you moved up here, it was already...
Yeah, it was
Ah,
already
okay,
gone
okay.
when I came. but it was great, and it was something that in Puerto Rico they do have like different
Perla?
festivals. La Perla, but La
They painted
Perla, I
the long
really,
wall in La Perla.
yeah, that's the one you, yeah.
The dead body.
Ex- I know La Perla is
it was dead bodies, man.
dangerous place. but more recently they started actually doing like festivals for street art and
Okay.
graffiti artists. Not only that, but also fine artists. So they were doing these huge murals of fine art, and they were all by brush.
Wow.
In Santurce, yeah. So it was Santurce's lay. Then they moved it to I think to Vieques, to Culebra, and then also to Ponce.
Okay.
So when they started doing that over there, and I saw it, I was like, wow, that's great. But then when I came over here and I saw 5 Points, I was like, this is like another level.
Mm.
But the thing about here is that was the only legal space. In Puerto Rico, you have so many places that they just leave like that. Like they don't take care of the buildings.
Well, back in the day in New York,
Yeah.
it was like that too. You just put something up and you just stay there because nobody wanted to clean it.
Yeah.
One thing also about 5 Points, it wasn't commercial, it wasn't corporate, it wasn't endorsed by some
Word.
company or
Yeah.
some rich dude. It was just a place
Props to
curated by
Mears.
Mears.
Props to Mears for never selling out, and
Yeah,
that's
man.
a difficult thing to do in New York.
He handled it well.
I think a lot of artists recognize that.
And that's something that if you go to festivals in Puerto Rico, you
Yeah.
see a lot of sponsorship, beers and sodas and a lot of things, because they're not able to do it just like that. So they need people to give out money, to bring up the artists, to give the paint, to give all this stuff. So everything is covered with sponsorship, even though it's all about culture and art,
Right,
but
right.
you have all those two combined.
And another thing about the Santurce and stuff in Puerto Rico, because I've also painted an art Basel, but something that I've become
went to Art
aware of.
Basel?
Yeah, I go there. a couple of
Miami?
times. Yeah.
Wow.
You've been there a few times though.
Yeah. So a lot of things, something that I've been noticing is that I heard is that a lot of the real estate people that are investing here in the Bushwick Collective, Santurce Isla in Puerto Rico, Art Basel,
Her Bushwick Collective is
they
like the
have
art
like
mob.
money related. It's like it's like realtor
Yeah.
empires that are like buying these properties. They're all got the same blueprint. I'm gonna look here. Okay, this stuff is available. Buy this out, wipe it out, do some graffiti stuff, blah blah blah. Raise the value, and then make these events, and then boom, raise it. And
It's a formula.
yeah, and they're doing that shit not just here or in Brooklyn or whatever, but they're also doing it in Miami. They're doing it in Puerto Rico. When I was painting in Art Basel, I was painting with Jay. I don't know if you met Jay, but Jay Mack. Shout out to Jay Mack. But I was painting with him in Art Basel. It was a corner spot that he got through this program, where they had a building. It was like a structure, a housing complex
Okay.
on a corner.
Okay.
They were just painting the whole thing. They were like, yeah, you guys go crazy. This is it. This is like the spot. The next door neighbor had 3 houses, private houses, looked beautiful. Housing that I would say I wish I could afford. I was like, wow, those houses look really nice. Like as I was painting, I was like, wow, those houses look nice. Next thing you know, the freaking landlord of those houses comes over to us, telling us, hey, in Spanish, speaking to us in Spanish, when you want, just come over to this building. And you guys can do whatever you want on this building. And I'm like, and I'm looking at the private house, and I'm like, why would you do that? And he goes, oh, because these are for sale. We're going to knock him down eventually. So you guys can paint everything you want on here. And I'm like, and they're brand new fucking houses, dude.
Shit.
Houses that look beautiful. And I'm like, this is fucked up. Like, this whole flipping housing shit is upside down. It's upside down because you got people who don't have fucking no homes. And you're just literally flipping these homes like that. And what they want to do is they want to sell off the entire block. And then they could put a fucking condo, or they could put a whatever the fuck.
Well, you
know
can
what I mean?
fit more than twice as many people in one space and charge more money.
So I don't know if you guys are familiar with where the Wynwood Walls is.
No,
So
I've never
that whole
been.
area is an old school area
Okay.
that was all Cuban. It was all factories and all that kind of shit. Where like fucking
I know Terry always paints at Wynwood.
the Cubans that migrated
Yeah.
in the big Cuban migration, they all found work in those areas and they all ended up living in those areas. So this is old school like ghetto
Is
Cuban
that
areas.
Little Havana? That area?
A little bit. It's near it. Yeah, it's like right
Okay.
near it, and like next to Little Haiti and all that. But so that these areas are being flipped now, and it's like I'm sure that those housing is probably housing that people probably bought not so long ago and probably lived in for like a short period of time, and now they're willing to just freaking knock it down and turn it into like a whole new thing. You know what I mean? And
Sounds like every block in New York City right now.
Except for Harlem. Harlem is still.
Oh, it's coming. What are you talking about? We're in
Yeah.
Sugar Hill right now.
This always been Sugar Hill.
No, not until recently.
It's been Sugar Hill since like back in the day.
It's just Harlem, and then all of a sudden I'm here. Oh, I just bought this new brownstone on Sugar Hill. I'm like,
No,
what
no,
the
no.
hell, Sugar Hill?
No. The thing that's new is Hamilton Heights.
Hamilton Heights. That's
new.
it. That's
Sugar
new.
Hill
Okay.
is old school.
Okay, is it?
But I am happy that they got a Blix on 125th.
They do?
Yeah.
That makes life convenient.
But you know what's funny about that though? There was an independent, locally owned art store around the corner from where the Blix is at.
Oh, that's fucked up.
Yeah, and it was like it was a company, but each store is just like I guess a co-op in a sort of but
What,
in a
Blix?
sense. No, the store around the corner.
oh.
It was an art store, and all the employees within the store owned the store. That's how I read about it. So I was like, that's cool, but they were overpriced. Blix opens up right around the corner, man. I'm like, that's crazy. Yeah,
Better prices.
better prices though. I was like, you can't fuck with Blix. It's like it's affordable. You know, all my stuff comes from there.
It's like working at a really big hammer store, and we push all the little ones out of business. Or what Amazon is doing to everybody else.
But yeah, Harlem is getting big, man. Columbia, I was telling you, Columbia is dumping money into the area.
Colombia.
Yeah,
What? My
they're-
peoples?
Columbia, they're buying up
Seriously?
because they're opening up more branches of the college or of the university. So because of that, they're buying up. Of course, they're buying up property and land. So they have an agreement with the city somehow where they have to give money back. One of the ways they're giving money back is through the arts program, arts foundations and stuff, or I guess philanthropy. So they opened up a humongous gallery over there on the west side on 125th.
By Dinosaur?
Yeah, like right before. It's nice, man. It's in one of their buildings, but you can't miss it because it's a huge glass building. And they have a beautiful gallery, beautiful space, big space. And it's all local artists from 125th up to Washington Heights. And because of that, more art galleries have opened up. So before it was like maybe 5. Now it's like 15. You know,
Wow.
they're not gigantic galleries. You know, they're still small independent galleries. Even the biggest gallery in Harlem is the Studio Museum of Harlem on 125th Street. That was like the mecca for art in the city. I remember, random thing, one time they had a book sale because they were cleaning out their storage. So they were like, okay, we'll give you a tote bag for $20. Well, actually, they gave us 2 tote bags for $20. And it was like, you could fill it up with any book you want from their store. It was like, they were just getting rid of stuff, man. So anyways, because the art scene in Harlem is just growing, the Studio Museum of Harlem shut down, completely renovated, you know. And then you got the Schomburg on 135th, the library.
Mm-hmm.
That's another hot spot. So the art scene in Harlem is growing. It's growing rapidly.
There was a gallery up by me for like a week, and then they closed it.
Yeah, I remember you telling me.
I don't know what it was. I walked by, I'm like, oh, snap, it's dope. It was like a photography thing.
Yeah.
I walked in, and I saw the photographer that was there.
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, he looks douchey, and I left. And I was like, I'll come back when he's not here. And when I came back, it was closed. I was
There's
like, shit.
one that I keep getting. I'm on the email list, and they had one opening for some artist. Man, all these famous people were there, and then next thing you know, you see a picture of Oprah. Yeah, it was like
Just
I
Oprah?
think it's-
Why?
don't quote me. It might be Anton Kern. I'm not sure. It's one of these. It's like there's a few upscale galleries, but they show like expensive stuff.
Let me
But
ask.
there's a lot in this area.
Let me ask you guys. So I'm curious because
I don't know how we got on Harlem.
yeah, no, we talk about gentrification and
Oh yeah.
but let me ask you guys this: have you guys, Chico and the Grin, ever found yourself in a situation where you had to protect your art or you had to defend your art? Have you
Like copyright-wise?
anything? I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
our situation with
Yeah,
Vara
yeah.
is not a copyright thing; it's a whole different thing. It's a matter of integrity.
Yeah.
Vara is a visual artist rights. It's not really a copyright
yeah.
thing. Have you ever found yourself in that situation?
Yeah. I do. Well, I used to do a lot of jujitsu stuff. I went through a whole phase, several years, where it was like I was freelancing, doing like graphics and then doing paintings and just doing everything I did was inspired by jujitsu, Brazilian jujitsu. And within the jiu-jitsu community, believe it or not, it's martial arts, but people have no honor and they bootleg shit all the time.
They
Seriously.
no scruples.
Like
No honor. You should be able to fight their dojo, right?
No scruples.
There's a guy by the name of Merkatsu. People will literally, they won't even change his stuff. They'll just reprint it.
Yeah, it's terrible.
fucked
up.
And
As
his-
is.
and his work is amazing.
It's like
That's fucked up.
What? What? It is.
Shade
It's
on
not
amazing?
so
It's good.
No, he's a cool dude. I've gotten work from him, so I can't shit on him.
I don't
but
own any of his work.
no, I've gotten work from him. Like he's
okay.
put me on to other people and stuff.
Okay, I got you.
But yeah, man, it's like there's one piece that I have that's I would say it's my most famous piece in jiu-jitsu. It's the grips piece, that pin that I showed you with the guy with the multiple arms, and that's been bootlegged. But the good thing is like the fan base, they'll be like, yo, this is John Small's piece. I'm like, that's cool. They'll call him out on the people that's bootlegging.
Nice.
It. And that's the only piece I would say that I ever had to defend or say something about. There's been times when I'm working with clients and they'll put up like sketches online. I'm like, why are you putting that online? We have a contract. Put the artwork that I gave you. Don't put like the concept sketches that I'm sending you. And sometimes I got to get into back and forth about that. And I'm like, yo, man, you're violating the agreement. Even though in the long run, I'm like, it'll cost me more money to go to court to fight it if they did do something. That's why I stopped doing freelance. I was like, it's a hassle arguing with people, man.
Yeah. I've
It's not
never
worth
had to
it.
do anything that drastic.
Yeah.
I've worked with a couple people who've, typically in photography, you have an agreement in terms of copyright and how you share the copyright. If it's for print media, if it's for social media
Yeah.
or advertising, the price for the work changes depending on what it's
Yes.
going to be used for, if it's going to be used internationally. The only thing I've ever had is a client decide to use my image for print, which is kind of a big deal, and they
Yeah.
didn't tell me, and I found out, in which case we just, I say, listen, you violate the contract. I'd rather not have my lawyer involved.
Yeah.
Give me this amount of money, and we don't have to worry about it. And they give you the check. Because if
Good.
not, then,
They're going to lose.
right, the way the copyright works at least in the U.S. is if you're the photographer, you took the photo, it's your property, you own the copyright to it.
Yep.
If you don't issue a copyright to them for them to use it, you're in the right. So that's the only thing I've had to
Same
do
thing
is-
with design.
yeah, just
Yeah.
listen. If you want to not pay me for it, I can have you talk about it with my attorney. If not, just give me this check and we'll call it even.
Like sometimes I don't even feel like it's tough because it's like you want to build a relationship with somebody professional, and you don't want to do contracts. But then it's like I gotta do
Always,
a contract 'cause I gotta
always.
protect.
Always.
I have to protect myself.
And even if you don't literally write a contract, you should already have a contract in your head.
Oh yeah,
You should have an understanding of what are you agreeing to.
the
that you could
terminology and
vocalize
the
it.
email
Yeah.
that I
At the
use.
at the very least, a written email
Yeah.
that states very clearly what
Yep.
it is, and that usually will be enough to if you have to show something.
I'll back out. Like now, like I say, I don't even like doing freelance anymore or side projects. I'm like, I'd rather put the time into my own work. But when I do have, like, if somebody's just dangling money and you're like, I mean, I'm not even talking about like painting because I'll still do painting commissions because those are good. But design wise, I'm like, nah, man. Unless it's like a really good opportunity, I'm like, I don't even want to bother with it. It's just not worth my time.
Yeah, I think for me, in the past, when I was in my 20s, I had another court case against the police department. It was censorship.
Was this the one when you did I saw a clip of that from J. Rue the Damager when you did
Yeah,
the
yeah.
mural.
Yeah.
You won a contest to do a mural and then you did like a cop.
He actually misspoke. He misspoke.
I was like, what?
Yeah, he misspoke. No, it was actually a painting that I did for an art exhibit for Hispanic Heritage Month, and it was at One Police Plaza, and all the pieces were approved by committee and everything like that. But once we hung it up and we put all the artwork up, one of the cops coming into One Police Plaza, he took offense to one of the pieces.
Okay.
Actually, took a few of the pieces,
Yeah.
but they took mine down, and that sparked a whole censorship debate because at One Police Plaza in the lobbies, there's an office for like all the media. So you had El Diario and you had all the local newspapers there. So the minute that the cop took it down, the Hispanic cops in the organization, they jumped to it and they were like, "Why are you taking our, it's for our celebration." And it just became a whole big to do. So that was like, that hit the front page and that was like a whole big thing. We were interviewed and all that. And it was a censorship case. Like I would never think like when I started painting that I would end up, number one, having to defend myself for censorship. Like that's the last thing I thought of. I thought that was something that would happen to rappers or some shit like music. I never thought it would happen to a visual artist. And then now with this 5 Points case, like, Visual Artists Rights Act, like what is to have to defend your art for your property? You know what I mean? Like a property defense. Like it's crazy, man. Like that's where I'm saying I'm surprised that I've had to end up in the situation because I don't think you plan for that. But I'm curious how many other artists actually defend themselves in their daily experiences because you might not be walking the same path I'm walking.
Yeah.
But along your path, you will be tested.
See, that's one of the things I really appreciated about the victory of 5 Points, because it wasn't just a win for graffiti writers. It wasn't a win for street artists. It was a win for art in general.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like the ants got together to overpower the elephant. You know, yeah. I think it got it from Dead Press, but probably was one of their videos. Like the ants can overpower the elephant. It's like together, you know, working together, and it's true. And I went freelance on my own for like a couple of years, right? And one of the hardest things I learned, one of the biggest things I learned, was just like, it's not even about my art skills at this point. It's not about my talent or what I can do. It's about my business. And that's a big aspect of being an artist. If you want to be a successful artist, you have to maintain your business. It's not your popularity. It's not your social media. It's not your likes. It's your business. You know, handling your contracts right? Connecting with people right, saying the right thing, making sure you're getting paid on time. You know, and this whole case is also about that. You know, this whole case is about handling your business as an artist. I didn't even know about the VERA Act, but now I know about it.
Neither did any
I'm
of
like,
us.
wow, this is. But see, a lot of people gonna know about this now, and a lot of people gonna know about. Like, I remember there's a book that I have. You know what? Hold up, let me get it.
He's going for books. Chico, you tell me a story.
Well, there's one time we did this podcast and Smalls had no books. Oh, he found it.
What's he going to do in the future when there's no books anymore?
So I was always referred to this book. This is the legal guide for visual artists, right? And they come out with it every couple years. They upgrade it. And it's just like basic
Did you
terminology.
steal that from a school?
No, Amazon.
It's got the stamp
It's
on
got
top.
the library.
It's got the library stamp on top of the
Nah.
up here.
That might be overdue.
This is I bought this off of Amazon.
Okay.
Amazon.
I thought you stole that from
But,
PS217.
You know, I never really, I flipped through it and I was like, some of the stuff is outdated. You know, some terminology is old. But the good thing about it is they have contracts. They have like usage rights.
Yeah.
They have all the general information that people need to know for handling their art.
Yeah.
And I forgot, I think I read this on somebody's blog or something. It was like, yo, this is one of the art books everybody should own. It's this one, and it's not the Society of Illustrators, the Artists Guild.
Oh, yeah.
The
it's another one.
pricing
Yeah, yeah.
guidelines from the Artists Guild,
Yep.
that book. And they update that book every year. I don't have it, but they say like everybody should own that. And these books are important because they're not talking about art, they're talking about the business of art.
Right.
You know,
Which
and
is what a lot of artists don't know how to do.
exactly. People, they go to art school, and I'm like, yeah, that's great. You go to art school, but to make money, you got to know business.
To make
It's not about making art at some
to make
point.
money and to have a career, you have to be able to document and retain your rights.
That too. Yeah.
That's a big part, especially for photographers. That's a
It's
big
huge.
thing.
And
Yeah.
it's very difficult now for photographers because, especially if you do commercial work, everybody wants to buy out your rights. So all the work you do, you don't own, they own.
Yep.
And a lot of bigger companies won't hire you unless you're willing to give that up. I mean, you get paid,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, you don't own that work. So if you take an iconic shot,
Mm-hmm.
you don't own that. You don't own that shot.
Let me ask you this: How this is something that came to us because in the sticking to the 5 Points case, part of the VARA rights, the Visual Artists' Rights Act, in order to be able to be protected under that law, we had to prove that our art, not us, our art, our piece,
Mm-hmm.
was of recognized stature.
Mm.
So not you, not John
Somebody
Smalls,
else.
but your piece
Mm-hmm.
is of recognized stature,
Like
meaning
somebody would know.
iconic, correct? So as a photographer, you're taking pictures, you're taking 1,000 pictures a day.
Yeah.
In a photo shoot, I just know, I've worked with photographers, I know that you're taking so many shots that it might as well be video because you're taking every second another
Right.
shot. How do you know when you reach that iconic? How does it feel and how can you recognize it? And do you fear that you wouldn't recognize it?
So one, I don't have one of those photos because I'm not as good as most. But there are photographers you can tell, like they're images that are known around the world. So the Afghan girl, now it's covered in National Geographic. Steve McCurry, that's a photo. When he took it, he says he had.
She's old now.
Yeah, she's old as fuck.
Yeah.
Busted looking, looks like a tire. But I know that's terrible, but she does. But he said he took two. There's 2 frames of that girl from that session. She was a random little girl that he found in Afghanistan at a refugee school. He sat her down. He said she looked fucking terrified because there's this white man pointing a camera at her. She's probably never seen a camera before. He took 2 shots. One of those was a really good portrait. The other one was the one that ended up on National Geographic and everybody knows. Like, even if you don't know the photographer, you look at that photo and you recognize that photo.
Yeah.
You know, there's the very famous Calvin, for the commercial side, the very famous Calvin Klein photo of the guy in the white briefs laying up against the wall in the sun. Like that.
Mark Wahlberg.
You just like the briefs.
Yeah, I do like the briefs. But, you know, you look at Calvin Klein. What is Calvin Klein known for? The white briefs. They say Calvin Klein. Why is it known? Because that one photo that Bruce Weber shot. And Bruce Weber is now facing all sorts of weird allegations. But he took that one photo, and even if you don't know who Bruce Weber is, you see that photo and you think Calvin Klein underwear.
So those examples are more on the commercial side. How do you, as an independent artist, an independent photographer, protect yourself and recognize the value of your pieces? Maybe you do have an iconic piece and you don't realize it.
Maybe, but that comes after the general public has seen it. So a lot of times, I mean, I can think of a few examples of other photographers, very famous photographers, who have had
Like Plankton.
Yeah, like
Platon.
Platon. Like, I mean, well,
Platon.
he's very recognizable because of his style.
Yeah.
Like, he's low angle, very wide angle, and he shoots famous people. And he does it all in black and white, and it's very contrasty. Like, he's known for that style. Like, you know, and his one of his most famous photos is a color photo of Putin, actually. But, you know, it's one of those things where your photo only becomes recognizable if enough people see it and react to it. Like, the Afghan girl is the easiest one to go to because it's so famous. Like, no one in the world knows that girl. But when they saw that photo, it left an impression on everybody. And even to this day, you can go into, like, any bookstore and flip through a magazine. At some point, you'll find that photo. It's one of the most recognizable photos in the world.
What do you think makes an iconic picture?
It moves you. It's just like with any kind of art, it moves you. Like, you see it and you can relate to it, or it makes you feel a way that you instantaneously that you weren't feeling a minute before.
What do you think, Ren?
Like, same thing with art. You know, what makes great art? What makes great music? It's not even about. It's not about what's going on outside. It's just you just happen to capture a moment. I don't. Oh, excuse me.
Looking at the waveform.
Yeah, we got
Oh,
it.
yeah, it's kind of low.
We started off real loud, and now we're getting
like-
deep. We're getting
all right,
deep.
As he gets deep, the microphone gets
Take
farther
this for
and farther
take this
away.
for example, right? Gomez and I, we do a lot of photo shoots, right? But he did his one photo shoot of me. What was the first one?
The one where you're standing against that wall.
Yeah, with the blue shirt.
That's my favorite photo.
Yeah, he did.
There's just something about it. I don't know what it is, but it's my favorite photo I've taken of John.
We've taken so many photos, so many. Like, we'll do like a photo shoot every now and then, but that one is just the best one. And I look at it, and I look at all my other pictures that he's taken, and I'm like, yeah, they okay. They're me working, and some of them are great. But I think that those photos, he captured me as I see myself, and I think as a photographer, that's a beautiful thing. Like, here's another example. My older sister, right? She's not an artist at all. Completely opposite of creativity. But ever since she had my nephew, ever since she had a kid, she's been diving into art because of the kid, right? So lately, she's been getting into photography, and I'm telling her, and I'm like,
that's a good one. Yeah.
Every time my sister takes a photo, because she's not out there snapping tons and tons of photos, but she has a nice camera, and she just takes these shots that they're so perfect. And I tell her, I'm like, yo, you really have something here. And again, she's not an artist, but I'm like, and I tell her, I'm like, you're able to capture the moments of your child being happy. You're like, there's one scene where she sent me a photo of him. He's playing in the yard with his dog, just chasing bubbles. But the way she caught that image was perfect. And I was like, you're on to something. And that's a classic photo. That's an iconic photo.
Iconic, like, so
it's like you're capturing this.
There's a weird line in commercial and fine art where you can have something that's iconic because it touches you, and it's a memory that's embedded in your head. When you see it, it brings back a feeling in you.
Yeah, like great
right?
music.
But then there's music that is, what do they call it? The earworms?
Yeah, they just spin around.
The fucking
forever.
catchy song,
Yeah.
the reggaeton, the whatever,
It's the
the
beats,
fucking
the 808 beat.
It's
Yeah.
the
It's Despacito.
It's the Despacitos. It's that thing that once it's in your ear, you
One of the
can't.
greatest works of music I've ever heard, by the way.
Is it iconic or is it an ear? Is it an earworm?
I mean,
You know what I'm saying?
It's an earworm. Because the
Carla, I want to hear from Carla, the resident musician here.
Oh, come on. No, I think it's like, art, it depends to the eyes that are looking at the art. So let's say if I know about art, maybe I'm going to be like more criticizing the art and saying, no, this is not correct. The technique is not right, blah, blah, blah. But if the popular view is that this is nice and this is so beautiful because it's just beautiful to my eyes, they're going to be like, okay. And then that becomes iconic because it becomes popular because everybody knows about it and everybody can recognize it and everybody can talk about it, even those that they don't have an education on the type of art. So I think it's the same with music and everything else. Like if people sees it and then they feel something, I guess they're going to talk about it or they're going to have an opinion about it and they don't need the education behind it. But obviously, if somebody with education thinks that that's so good and that's so great and everybody else thinks that way too, it's going to be more like...
Well, that's interesting because it's like with design, right? They always say if you have to explain design, it's bad. It's bad design. It's the same. To me, it's the same thing with fine art. It's like if you have to tell me what this is about, and I need to, like...
Exactly.
The Mona Lisa. I don't think the Mona Lisa is a great painting.
How dare you?
I love Da Vinci. You know I love Da Vinci.
Personally offended.
But that painting, I've seen it. I've seen it in person. I'm like, I'm not impressed. But for some reason, they analyze it and they dig into it. And
Da Vinci's going to haunt you tonight. You're going to have some fucking weird dreams.
I'm just not into it. But there's other paintings. Damn, I'm losing my train of thought. Oh. I know where I'm at. I got it. All right. So with fine art, yeah, it's stuff like the Mona Lisa. I don't feel it's a great piece of work, but people analyze it. They're always beauty for this. Is that her smile? I'm like, okay, whatever. His other pieces are great. That one's not my favorite. But keeping with art, it's like take a look at Van Gogh, right? He sold one painting right before he died, right? But before that, nobody cared about impressionists. People didn't like about it. They was like, what is this new movement? What is this? What is these little quick paintings that people are doing? It was thrown out of all the salons. It wasn't being accepted. People they didn't care about it because it was too different. It was against the norm. But now everybody's like, oh, Monet and his lily pads, and you go to the MoMA. You see the big paintings, the whole room, and I'm like, oh, everybody's into it. They don't even know what they're looking at.
Everybody just stares at the one
they
Van
go
Gogh.
in
They're just
there.
like...
You know what I'm saying? Like people going like
They go in there to take pictures of pictures.
Here's the thing, and I've said this before. Here's the thing about the museum that sucks. People go in there and they don't know what's good art. It's like the Despacito thing.
Again, you
Yeah,
offend
it
me.
is true.
They
Good
they
sir.
know like it's a hit. They go into a gallery, they say, oh, this is Monet, this is Van Gogh. Take a picture. Take a picture, right? But then the other artists, like a guy like Hindi Wiley, right? He's been painting for decades. Or a decade or more, right? Not 2 decades, but a decade. And his paintings are crazy, but you don't see people going in there appreciating his work. Now they're going to appreciate his work.
He's not dead yet.
Now they're going to appreciate his work because he made the Obama painting, right? But it's like people with art. It's like if you don't have a name, they're not gonna appreciate you. And I'm like, that sucks.
Yeah, which is interesting and connects with the 5 points case.
Yeah.
When they were talking in the case, they were trying to compare the pieces that this artist did with what Banksy was doing, which is not the same because Banksy has already a name.
Scrabble.
And it's nothing. It's just maybe like how you call it, the stickers that you put in the wall.
There's a stencil. So there's an inside joke
That's
amongst the artists because
Heroin art.
unfortunately, because there was no other way to measure the value of the art of the street art, graffiti art, because it was really graffiti art, not street art. But there was no way to measure the value because there's nothing to measure it against. So they had to compare it to what sells, and what sells right now is Banksy. So they literally in court had to describe certain artists as.
Is he still a thing?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So they literally had to compare certain artists as this person is 50% Banksy.
Wow.
This person is 30% Banksy.
How
This person
insulting is that?
It was an auction house. I took offense to the whole thing. I literally
Wow.
no, I took offense to it. I'm telling you, not everybody has the stomach to put themselves out there like that. That's why
Damn.
you had 21 artists.
Yeah.
So for all the other artists out there who are sitting around at home saying like, "Why they're not getting no fucking paycheck?" Motherfucker, you didn't go to the fucking court and do this shit and put yourself through the fucking ringer to put yourself on the auction block.
To find out how much Banksy you are.
Exactly. And that's the inside joke between us is like we would leave the court and be like, that's fucking crazy. Like there's a fucking a circus in there.
That's amazing.
You know what I'm saying? And that goes into the thing about recognized stature. I mean, we acknowledged it, and at the end, a jury decided that yes, we had recognized stature. The judge decided yes, we had recognized stature. That was a victory that I wish a lot of artists could understand what we accomplished. Not commercial value, not recognized stature
Personal
because
value.
not commercial value, but the value of the art for the culture.
Right.
Let me ask you this. I think it was the day of, I saw a post on Instagram by a company that, let's just say they're a graffiti clothing company, right? That's their theme. I'm not going to say their name. That's their theme. But they posted a thing about, oh, we won for the 5 points victory. It's like, oh, we won. Congratulations. Like, and I'm like, I know damn well none of you guys had anything. And they were over there in California. And I mean, don't get me wrong, they're dope for doing what they're doing, but I don't think they were ever at 5 points, ever. Right. What do you feel about that? Do you even care? Is it like, are people jumping on the bandwagon?
I think there are some mixed feelings out there. There's some people that are jumping on the bandwagon, some people that are on the other side of the fence. All of a sudden, they're like extremely on the other side of the fence. I don't think any of us involved really care. I think we're still in it, even though we won the case. It's being appealed, so we don't really know the final outcome of the whole thing. So I don't think we could really care about what's happening outside of the circle of people that are involved.
Got it.
I think most of us realize the importance of educating people. You know what I mean? Whether it's this little talk show right here, and we're going to talk about it,
a little talk show,
or hey, listen, it's the little talk show that could. But no, whether it's a small venue where you can just speak to a few people about it, or maybe a bigger venue where you can actually publish about it, like in the media, in the newspaper articles and all that. We've been on a campaign to try to get as much accurate information out there, and that's something else that not 1,000 artists want to do. You know what I'm saying? Let's say the Grin, you end up in a court case. Just because you're in a court case, does that mean that you want to battle and carry the flag for the rest of the artists? Not necessarily.
really.
You might just want to take your check and leave.
Yeah.
But the rest of us, the ones that are really invested, realize, well, this is our time to really speak about the law, speak about, educate people, inform people. And the reason that we're doing it is because, the culture is kind of eating itself out about it. They're kind of chewing at each other because they're not comfortable with the result. Some people don't understand what the law is. Some people have certain views of graffiti or street art, and they don't really see the future of what it could be. They don't see the bigger picture, and how does it benefit them in the future? So I mean, as far as the haters, or as far as people that might be on the bandwagon, I think right now we're not.
So really what do you see is going to change? Like, what's your foresight in this? Is it going to change for the better, change for the worse?
I think it's better because now there's a dialogue. You know what I mean?
I think graffiti is going to have a resurgence, and I say graffiti as for like letters and characters, not street art.
Right? No, exactly. Yeah.
No,
I mean, this court case literally was about graffiti lettering. I mean, you had burners on display.
Yeah.
Straight up.
What are burners for the uninitiated? I have no idea what that is.
Like, let's set the record straight. Please.
Chico?
I don't know what that is.
Please, let's set the record straight that street art is not graffiti.
Whoa.
Drop
the mic.
Like, everybody people put them all in the same category, and I'm like, nah, man.
I agree.
Like,
but what are burners?
Well, so a burner is an old school term for graffiti lettering that excels, that goes beyond just writing your name.
Okay, all right, gotcha.
And it doesn't have to be freestyle, but that's just an added bonus. But the fact that we actually were trying to defend burners, graffiti lettering with characters, like productions. That's never been in a court. Nobody's ever said K Smooth and blah, 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 Richie Rich, whatever the fuck. They did this piece, and now this is worth something.
Tats Crew did sue J-Lo.
But that's Task Crew, and that's a commercial project. We are talking about graffiti as fine art.
Okay.
We're not talking about a commercial project.
Right. They weren't commissioned to do this.
Exactly.
But
And
Tats Crew wasn't commissioned for the J-Lo thing. She did a commercial with Fiat, and they had their piece was in the background, so they sued her. I don't know the outcome of it, but I remember that case.
Yeah.
That's probably more copyright than anything.
yeah,
They
it's
were like,
more
"Oh, you used our
copyright law.
piece. You use our piece in your commercial."
Oh,
That
if I
type
saw one of
thing.
my pieces in the commercial,
Yeah.
I'm going to the bank.
Yeah, I mean,
You
that,
didn't hear about that? It was like-
yeah, no, I heard about that. I heard that. That's a. I think when you're dealing with commercial, first of all, commercial artists,
yeah.
because they are commercial artists, like they that's their living. They make a living off of that. You had here on court people that maybe their living is delivery men,
It's like individuals, regular.
but they paint
yeah.
really sick shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like that they're known, but they not necessarily.
They're not making a living off their art.
Not necessarily. You know what I mean? So you had a weird mixture between 21 artists of people that do make a living off their art, people that don't make their living off their art. But what they all have in common is that they painted at 5 points and they created these iconic pieces, pieces that were recognized, pieces that were celebrated by communities, multiple communities. So I think that's where if the fact that we managed to convince, to not convince, but to represent this as an art form to a jury and to a judge and to have them see the value in it. You know what I mean? I think that's the victory. The fact that they actually saw a value. It's very easy to set a value to like Tats Crew. Well, what do you do? Oh, we do murals. How much do you usually charge? We charge this much. Okay, what's in a J-Lo video? So the record company has money, so you'll pay this much, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's a very simple thing. This thing was a little more complicated. It was a little more into the fine art world, which made it a little.
Right. There's no pre-existing case where they could make a basis off of, which makes it very important because it's a landmark case because it's the first of its kind, which sets kind of the tone going forward when this happens again, because it's going to happen again.
You've been
Definitely.
in 2 major cases.
2 big cases.
Yo, you keep why do you keep catching cases,
Like,
Cortez?
damn, man.
You keep catching cases, B.
It's not bad though. You know.
Rather catch a case of beer, but hey,
You look
whoa.
at like when you look back at your career, you're gonna be like, yeah, man.
What was the first one?
You done some moves.
It
The
was-
police case.
Oh, that's right.
That was a police case. That was. You could still find if you guys look up Christian Cortez in the New York Times, One Police Plaza, and you'll find it. And it's a censorship case. The only article that still survives online, because I have articles at home, actual newspapers, when they used to print newspapers. But there's only one article in the New York Times. If you go to their website, you'll find it. But yeah, I mean that was a whole history. That's a whole other era. That was 90s. For some reason, anything in the 90s, you don't find that shit online.
they don't want to go back to the 90s. They don't want to go back. So I was thinking. So you're a very big name in graffiti in New York City, right?
And
You
Big.
would say
I
that?
wouldn't add very to it. I would say big.
You're big. You're old school. You're part of the culture. You've been part of the culture for a long
A
time.
long time. Yeah.
Where do you see that culture going now in New York City? Because New York City, for all intents and purposes, is all whitewash. It's not. It's 5 points on a very big scale. Because I remember being a kid growing up in New York, in the neighborhood,
Where did you grow up?
Flatbush in Brooklyn.
Okay.
So I remember graffiti everywhere. I remember riding the train and then seeing on top neck face written everywhere. Like you had all the rooftop graffiti, you had the graffiti all over the place. I'm too young to remember the graffiti on the train cars because that was in the 80s and I was born in 88.
Never seen
No
Star
comments.
Wars.
So, what?
You never seen Star Wars?
Oh my
Yeah, I've
God.
seen Star Wars. But I remember.
That's
like,
why they
you
call him
should-
Chico.
Yeah, but I remember like seeing graffiti in the neighborhood and like really good stuff. And now I hardly see it anywhere because all the buildings are commercialized. Especially in Brooklyn, everything's becoming very commercial because of all the condos and the type of people they're trying to attract and the type of people they're trying to push out. Like, where do you see that kind of like graffiti urban
I see
culture
throw ups
going?
everywhere.
Yeah, I see a lot of bombing.
Prever and Kuma, I see them names everywhere I go.
Honestly, there's not a little, there's a big backlash against street artists, where I'm seeing what is legal spots and what is commercial legal spots, like at these venues like the Bushwick Collective and the Art Basels and all that. I'm seeing them getting bombed like hard.
Yeah, but-
like people are painting these crazy murals and all this shit, like beautiful, amazing pieces, masterpieces of art and all that. And dudes are coming overnight, local guys, and they're just bombing the shit out of them, ragging them, straight up fire extinguisher, tagging them up.
Yeah.
And I feel a little mixed about it because I know that that's going to bring a lot of drama.
Mm-hmm.
But if they want to express themselves that way, I think if I was that age, I might be doing the same thing.
I heard a lot of
I don't
negative.
know.
I never worked with them, but I've heard a lot of negative shit about the Bushwick Collective.
There's a lot. They have a case.
Like they're fucking up a lot of
They
things
did
for
a
other
McDonald's.
artists.
You know, they did a McDonald's thing.
Nah.
There's a McDonald's thing. They did a commercial
Okay.
for McDonald's
Mm-hmm.
where they used the artist as the backdrop, and I think the organizer of that thing
Mm-hmm.
was in the commercial, like talking like as though he was like the artist.
Oh.
Dude, 5 Points case is
Yeah.
just the peak of the iceberg. It's just the thing that finally broke the camel's, like it's the one thing that you can really say was the top of the fucking thing.
Yeah.
Underneath the surface, there's tons of cases throughout the city, throughout the country,
Yeah.
where people are fighting for different reasons because street art is getting used and abused. And I mean, another thing, you know, and not to be like, oh, like we could get into a racial. Is this racial hour already?
It's always racial hour
Okay.
in the studio.
Rachel's in the house. Everybody say hello to Rachel.
There you go.
No, not to get racial, but like a lot of these street artists that are maybe a little more like college educated or art school kind
White?
of.
White.
I just wanted I left it at that.
All right.
But a lot of these people, you know, they are using the law. They are the ones that are really using the law. It's not a coincidence that the 5 Points case, about 70% of the artists were Latino. It's not a coincidence that we are the ones defending that side of it, the cultural side of it, it's the right thing to do side of it.
Yeah.
On the other side, there's a lot of cases that are not in the newspaper of people that are doing things, and it's because of commercial value, because they're people that are coming out of art school. They joined the street art movement. They're doing these amazing murals for money or not for money or for whatever the hell endorsements or
Exposure.
sponsorships
Everybody needs exposure.
or sponsorships. And they're ending up getting used, their copyright issues, a lot of copyright issues. So those people, a lot of those people are backlashing against this case because they're saying now landlords aren't going to want to work with us. Now landlords are going to be like, oh, well, we need to have a contract because you might sue us.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, but you're a commercial artist. Like, that's your shit. You should be doing contracts anyway.
Right. If you're
You know
a
what I'm
commercial
saying?
artist, you need to have all that taken care of before you start painting.
Yeah. So if you want to,
They didn't teach you
to,
that in art school?
No, they didn't. They taught you that you're a unique butterfly with a creative vision to put on canvas.
but it is difficult. I think a lot of these artists are realizing it's difficult to control your copyrights when you do public art because anybody can
Yes.
come by and snap a picture.
Yeah. Well, it's sort of the same thing with photography in a way, because I've noticed since the whole digital revolution, digital went really high and everybody shoots digital. I shoot digital, but I also shoot film. But I've seen this resurgence of people shooting street photography and shooting film and street photography. And I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the copyright laws in terms of, you snap the photo, you own it, but also in terms of privacy in
There
New York
is none.
City. Yeah, if you're on the street and I take your photo, I can use it for everything except commercial work. And there's been a few cases already where people have quote unquote street photographers, and I say quote unquote street photographers because a lot of what people are doing these days is actually posed and it's not real street. It's a lot of it's fake. But a lot of these people are using street photography that's posed in commercial work, and they're technically not supposed to be doing that. So the people who are appearing in these photos that never gave permission are showing up on ads.
Wow.
And it's turning into this whole thing now where they're talking about maybe changing some of these laws, which I think would be terrible in general because some of the greatest street photography ever has been taking place in New York City with those laws because you were able to, capture moments like, the most iconic, one of the most iconic ones I can think of is the Elliot Erwitt photo actually in California where he's capturing a picture of a couple laughing together in their car at a drive-through movie. And he took the picture in the side mirror. So he has their reflection in the mirror. You see the car, them crystal clear, and it's just one of the most perfect moments I've ever seen. Just a couple in love laughing in a window no bigger than 6 inches in
That's
diameter.
like Stalker level 1000.
Sort of. And his story was he was walking by, walking through to get back to his car, and he saw them, and he just pulled out his camera because, like a real street photographer, he always has his camera on his neck. He took the shot, took like 2 or 3 shots, didn't think of anything, saw them, and there's just one sliver of a second in time where both people are laughing hysterically, and it's just like the best picture ever. And he can't use that for advertising. He could use it for his own work and his books or whatever. But there's no way, like, that would be a perfect picture for like a perfume, for like Coco Chanel or whatever. Like it would fit that kind of advertising, but he could never do that. So I think that a lot of these new people, and I hate to say new people, but like this newer generation of artists don't really understand what they're doing in relation to law and the what the long-term effects of it are going to be on the whole art culture overall.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see what happens in the next 5 years.
Well, I mean, something that I brought up, because I went to speak at SVA about the case, and I was talking to the youth, the future. I was speaking to the future. And I was telling them, you know, after I explained the whole case and I gave them a whole presentation and all this shit, I was like, you know what? The future, you guys, I'm telling you guys so that you guys could learn from this, because in the future, maybe you guys might not be protecting a graffiti wall. You might not be protecting maybe a clothing company, you know what I mean? But you guys might be protecting some sort of online property. What's going to happen in the future when you have to protect intellectual property in that way, where you have to protect your digital rights? And what's going to define the new digital rights? You know what I mean? If you do a collective with people online, and how much is it yours? How much is it theirs? And if you're not ready to do that. So, you know, I'm an old graffiti artist painting with spray paint on a wall.
Yeah.
But to the future, I don't know what they're going to do, man. The medium is changing so much. You never know what's going to do. We got a photo shoot. We got a cat photo shoot happening right now as I'm speaking.
Sorry, it was too cute. It's too cute to pass up.
She's so cute.
She bites. She's a biter.
What's the cat's name? Sparks.
She's a fan favorite.
Oh, Sparks.
Oh, Sparks. He's so cute.
All right, well, so that's enough of 5 points. John, hit me with your notes. What you got?
No, I mean, we went over everything I had.
We talked about maps. We talked about...
Oh, you want to go to those notes? No. I'm gonna stay away from that. for
Why,
today.
man? Come on.
I would just say, you know, look up the map of the Earth. You know. Or you know what? I'll pull it up here.
Oh no.
Oh, yeah.
Some things John wants you to research. He wants you to research the map of the Earth, why you can't see satellites from space.
I didn't say that.
Did
This
Elon
episode.
Musk really send that car into space?
No.
Falcon Heavy.
Yeah, we had a private conversation about that, and yeah, that was a wall. I hit a wall with that one.
So this is was this it? The Peterson map. Dead air.
We're looking at the map right now
Oh, that is pretty wonky. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, this is one of them.
because that's the way it is.
Yeah, it's like
So everything's
Basically, the
skinnier.
map.
kind of.
Everything's skinnier and longer.
Yeah, and United States is super small compared to Brazil and
Oh,
South
yeah.
America and Africa,
Well,
which is
Africa-
the truth, though.
right.
Like here's the actual size of Africa. How it fits all those countries in there.
Oh,
It's
wow.
humongous.
Which is why everybody always invades it for the natural resources.
And that's why Wakanda forever. Black Panther.
Yeah, I went to go see that movie again at I went to 125th Street.
Oh, you saw that Magic Johnson? How was that?
I love Harlem.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
I've been to Magic Johnson Theater a few times.
Looks like you're about to say some shit people are not going to like.
And they had a few different movies going on that day, like Black Panther. They had it in most of the theaters. Like 75% of the theaters were Black Panther, right?
Right.
But for some reason, they put me and my girl into the theater that was just like, I don't know, like it was falling apart. Like
Oh, no.
as soon as we sat down in the chairs, I was like, somebody take a piss in this thing.
Oh.
Oh no! You sat in a wet chair.
It wasn't wet. It wasn't wet.
It was damp.
It wasn't.
It was
not at
smelling
all.
bad.
Stink?
Yeah, stinky.
And I was like,
Ugh.
and to the whole point where like I'm just like the smell. I
You're not
couldn't
you
get.
just say
It was like a when you know a bum was
Yeah.
on a train.
Yep.
You didn't see him,
Yep.
but you know he was there.
And you know you're sitting in the spot he was sitting in.
Yeah,
You're like,
shit.
ah,
Shit.
yeah, you got cooties. You start to itch.
Yep.
You get that smell in your upper lip. You're like,
So-
is that on my lip or is that in the air? Where's that smell coming
So
from?
I'm just sitting there the whole time watching it, and then you know, uncomfortable, itching, scratching, and then you know what? Another thing, when I went to go see it the first time, and I don't want to talk too much about Black Panther because we're gonna do an episode
Oh, okay.
on that.
on that next couple days.
Yeah, but when I first saw it, I went to the Dolby Theater on 42nd Street, and if you know what the Dolby Theater is, it's my new shit,
Mm.
man. It's not just the cushion chairs, the individual cushion chairs.
Yeah.
It's the big, gigantic, perfect screen, excellent stereo system, and there's a stereo in your chair
What?
Staring at
Where-
a chair.
where your chair vibrates and it rumbles.
No,
That shit was
that's
awesome.
crazy.
It's called
Yeah.
the Dolby Theater.
It's called the Dolby Theater.
That's
Huh.
an
It was on
experience.
42nd Street.
Is
And
that
I was
you?
like, I guess. You remember how the first PlayStation had the vibrating control?
Yeah.
It was like that. So every time they were fighting and the chair would be like, yo, it put you in there. I was like, this is great. Big chairs, man. Like big chairs, leg room. Like I got my own arm space. Nobody's touching my elbows. I'm like, comfortable. I was like, this is a theater.
A theater.
This is how you need to watch a movie. You
Interesting.
know, my next favorite theater would be the Alamo Draft House in Brooklyn.
Brooklyn.
Yeah, that's nice too.
Yeah.
It's nice. The food is okay, but it's a
Man.
nice setup.
I went to when I was in Arizona back in October,
Yeah.
right when Blade Runner came out.
Mm.
I seen Blade Runner here at a regular theater, and when I was out there, I went to an Alamo Draft House style theater. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
As you can see, I'm getting worked up. And I was already messed up. I was out drinking all day with my buddy Bert,
Yeah.
and he's like, I want to go see Blade Runner. Have you seen it? I was like, I saw it already, but I want to see it again. He
Mm.
goes, got the perfect place. They have nachos and margaritas. So we went, and that was the worst mistake. I fell asleep. And did you see the new Blade? You saw the new
Yes.
Blade? Yeah, we did an episode on it.
Yes.
You know how loud that movie is.
Yes. With the music.
All I remember is sitting in this comfy ass seat
Mm.
and the table sliding out of the side, because the little tray comes out of the side.
The airport train.
Yeah.
Trains.
And the guy comes, what do you want? I'm like, I want the biggest margarita you got and the biggest plate of nachos you got. He was like, you got it. The next thing I know, I hear, I wake up. It's an hour and a half later. I fell asleep before the food and the nachos even showed. I showed up. My margarita's like dripping. It's like melted and poured out of my cup into the nachos. And I'm just like, I'm like, my neck was at a weird position, and I had a weird like Charlie horse in my neck.
Yeah.
And I was just like, fuck it. I just started eating nachos with margarita on it. It was maybe I woke up right when Jake Gyllenhaal and Harrison Ford were in that orange place, and they
Jake Gyllenhaal.
no Ryan
Gosling. Ryan Gosling.
All these whites look the same. All these whites look the same. I'm sorry, white people. You all look the same. You're all Ryan Gosling. Right when they punch him through the wall and they steal Harrison Ford, that's when I woke up. But I can't go to those places. I'll fall asleep. I don't fall asleep during movies. At that place with those comfy seats and the food and the booze,
Yeah, that's
I'll
the
go
worst.
right to bed.
On 3rd Avenue in 59th Street, they got a movie theater where you can like literally recline.
Yeah, reclining seats. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That's the
That-
new thing.
That's
I don't
the new
like
thing.
those,
There's a lot-
though.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
You don't like that?
I'm like, nah.
Why
No?
not?
Because I'm like, everybody done laid in here.
Well, if you think about it, it's like a
That's
hotel.
how I'm like,
It's like
no,
a hotel.
I don't want to get
Couch elitist.
I don't want to get too comfortable in a movie theater. It's like the
Yeah.
comfy seats is one thing, but laying back, I'm like,
Yeah.
no.
I know.
80
Too comfortable.
on the west side, 86th
Six,
Street.
yeah.
Yeah, they have that too. The seats go all the way flat.
I don't like that
I
theater though.
would think
I
you
don't
would
like it
like
either.
that, Smalls. You're a tall man. You need extra leg room. Like,
Because I always think like, how many people done slept here?
Can't think that way, man.
When's the last time they cleaned this place?
You can't think that way, man. You start applying that to other parts of life, you'll really freak out.
yeah, I'm thinking about the chair I'm sitting in right now. I'm like,
I was just
what happened on the stool?
exactly right. We were just talking about when you get on the subway and you sit down and you smell something and you look around and you're like, wait a minute, am I sitting in the bum seat? Was this the seat the bum was sitting
It
in?
just lingers.
And then you start to itch. You're like, oh, I'm sitting in the bum seat. I can't wear these pants anymore.
That's the worst.
It's
the
the-
poles.
it's the worst.
Poles. You don't want to touch the poles
No, I do that
in the
all time.
subway.
Yeah, when I was talking about the Black Panther and the piss smell, like me and my girl, we both came on. We was just like, just throw everything into the laundry. Just don't even.
Those
just,
seats were covered in urine.
It was like the stench was just like
So
fucking killing me.
So
man.
talking about the theaters, have you guys done the theater where they give you the waiters and all that, and they bring you the food?
yeah,
Yep.
Alamo
Alamo
Yeah.
Draft House, yeah.
The Alamo, and then the downtown, it's the iPick,
downtown
I
where?
the Seaport.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
In the
That's-
Seaport,
that's
it's the
a new
iPick,
one,
yeah.
right?
iPick. Oh.
iPick, yeah.
Don't they do that at Nighthawk too in Brooklyn? The food,
Nighthawk.
Nighthawk Cinema.
Where's that at?
I don't know, somewhere in Hipsterland.
No, I don't know.
Now, the only problem with those things, and I thought it was going to be a really cool thing, but the problem with it is you're watching a movie. First of all, you're sitting next to somebody.
Like
that
how close?
If you came with somebody, that's cool. But if you go by yourself, you're screwed because you're sitting next to a stranger
Yep.
in a little cozy little chair that both of you made for
Also
two.
had nobody else to go with, so now you're sitting in a very awkward situation.
Exactly.
I don't know.
And
Alamo
then-
has enough room. You can go by yourself.
Some of them do, some of them don't.
Oh,
I don't know if you've seen the ones that they have where they have like the two. It's all by
Yeah.
twos.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the one on 86th Street, it's like
Yeah.
that. It's by twos.
So the other thing that's a problem is that if you're ordering stuff in the middle, so it's all good when you first show up.
Yeah.
When you first show up, you bring your food,
Yeah.
you order it before you come in.
Mhm.
You have a whole tray, you got your stuff, you got your beer and all that. Then like 40 minutes into a movie or 30 minutes into a movie, you're like, I'd like something else, or the guy next to you wants something else. Now you got a waiter coming over. Okay, should I put it on a card or should I charge it to this card or should I? And I'm like,
the
oh
worst.
my god!
Yeah.
And I'm like, figure this shit out before or after. Like, why now?
Alamo doesn't do that. They do. You write it down. They come by. They pick it up, and then at the end they'll come by like.
Correct, but there's people doing it midway.
Mid-movie.
That's fucking
Mid-movie,
horrible.
yeah.
But that's what it is, because you're thinking you're getting a full experience. Like, oh, I'm like at a bar.
Yeah.
I'm watching a movie. Hey, I'll order a beer. Now I'll order a second beer. And you know what? Let's get some chips too, in the middle of a fucking movie.
No, that's horrible.
But that's what they're
That's
offering.
how a lot of it. That's how it was in Arizona too.
That's
the-
horrible. man.
That's what's on the
Yeah.
on the menu.
When
That's
I
what they're
ordered
offering.
the food, the guy was like, the credits had finished and they're starting the movie. He goes, "What do you want?" I was like, "Well, since you asked so nicely, margarita and some nachos, please." Yeah, he was like a 17-year-old kid from Arizona.
Yeah, but they ask you to pay right then and there.
Yeah, he's like, "How do you want to pay for this?" I'm like,
Oh shit.
I was like, "I don't know, put it on my account. I don't know. Do I have a tab?"
It's a regular old like waiter.
It's like a bar.
Oh, that sucks.
It's a bar with a movie screen.
Exactly.
That sucks.
And then the other part, which more on you than on them,
Yeah.
is you don't realize it, but a movie is how long? An hour and
Hour and a half, 2 hours.
hour and a half.
Mhm.
You drink a beer, you got to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Start drinking 2 beers, you definitely got to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
So there's no way that if you're gonna drink, let's say 2 beers in a sitting, that you're not gonna have to like get up in the middle of the movie and go to
Right.
the fucking bathroom.
Mhm.
So you're setting yourself up for a horrible movie experience because you're trying to take advantage of the fact that, oh, look at me, I got this giant menu. I can order so many things, but I can only order 1 beer
Yep.
if I want to enjoy the movie. And I can only order 1 piece of food if I want to enjoy the movie, because otherwise you don't know when it's going to show up and you don't know how you're going to fucking interrupt the movie.
Exactly.
And the waiters don't give a shit. So I was watching one of the shark movies, one of the recent shark movies.
Sharknado.
No, it was
The one with the chick on the island. On that
Sharknado
little,
5.
on
that she was trapped underneath. Mandy Moore.
Yeah.
I was watching that shit, and in the middle of like the silent moment,
You went to the movies for that?
I was with my kids. So I was in the middle of the silent moment where everything was nice and quiet.
Yeah.
Are you gonna have another? And I'm like, oh my god, the shark's coming! It's silent right now. This is the moment. We're waiting for this moment.
it's so good.
Can I help? What do you want? And I'm like, fine, beer won. So I'm like, okay, fine, yes, beer wins. Okay, I'll have another red, whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
In a glass or in a bottle? I'm like, oh my god. I'm like, give me my beer and get out of here. I want to get scared. This is what I paid for. No, you can't enjoy a movie. You can't.
Oh,
you
that's
can't.
so funny. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I like the older style. The older style. Like I like the one thing that I do like about technology is the fact that I can choose my seat. I used to have
that's awesome.
I used to have such bad anxiety about not getting a good seat. Like I can't tell you how many times I've ruined relationships. Where I'm like, bitch, if you don't get ready right now, and I have to sit in the front row, I'm a fist fight you. I can't. The last time I saw a bad movie was when Van Helsing came out with Hugh Jackman, and I was in the front row. I was sitting like this.
That was horrible.
I was sitting at the IMAX theater. I was like this. Like I used to leave like 2 hours early to get to the theater for a showing to make sure I could sit where I wanted to sit. And that line that you make before you go into the theater,
Yeah.
I was a fucking savage. I would elbow grandmothers in the boob to get out of my way. I would kick children in the spine. I was like, get out of my way. I'm getting in this fucking seat. If I have to step on your mother, I will. Like, but now that I can go, I can pick my seats ahead of time. I don't have to worry. And if somebody's sitting in my seats, I'm legally entitled to beat them to death.
I went to the as I was saying, I went to the Magic Johnson Theater, and at first it was empty.
The theater?
Yeah, how you say it?
Fancy.
Theater.
He's uptown.
Theater.
Theater. Oh, you look at my girlfriend.
Theater.
When she sees a buffet, she goes, a buffet. I'm like, what?
Oh, that's a Spanish thing.
That is, she's
buffet.
very Dominican. She's
So,
like buffet. I'm
Un
like,
buffet.
what?
Un buffet.
So we go in and we're sitting down. We get there on time, and like there's these old women in the back. I don't know. I'm just going by how they sound. They just sounded old and big. They were sitting in the back of us, already munching on food. Right? Previews didn't even start yet. So then nobody's coming in yet, and it's said online it's gonna be a full house. So the theater starts getting packed, and then somebody comes by, one of the women, and they're like, "Oh, you can sit. You know, it's not gonna get crowded. You can sit wherever you want. You don't have to go by the assigned seating." But that's the reason. That's the reason they have it, right? That's the reason they have.
You can ignore that.
assigned-
You can
Yeah,
ignore
she
the whole
was like-
purpose of this.
She was like, "Oh, you ain't gotta worry about that, honey. You could just sit wherever you want."
As a matter of fact,
We
you just
just
sit
like,
up in the projection room. It's all
okay.
right. Just ignore all
Yeah.
rules.
next thing you know, people start coming. You know, it's a full house. They start coming in, and these ladies get mad because they get up, they move down one. Like, "Oh, excuse me, you're in my seat. Get up,
Yeah.
move down another." Like,
I've seen that happen a
you're
few
in
times.
my seat. I was
I-
like,
that-
"Yo,
that's
just
happened
go
to
to your
me.
damn seat."
Yeah.
It's happened to me where I've gone and empty theater.
Yeah.
Empty. Fucking theater is empty and it's reserved seating and I show up and you're sitting in my chair.
Yeah.
Why the fuck you sitting in my chair?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's.
I
I've
do
seen-
that too. I'm like, I know I could sit anywhere else, but I'm like, I picked those seats.
Right.
You know.
You pick the seat because
Move.
it's best. It's the best way to sit. I've had that one time. I get into theater, and luckily it was by myself because I was with my girlfriend. She would get mad at me. And there's a couple sitting, and one of them's in my seat, and it happens to be the guy. I'm like, "Oh, sorry, sir, you're in my seat." He goes, "You can sit there, like right next to him." I'm like, "That's somebody else's seat, sir. You're in my seat. You could sit there. That's probably your seat." He's like, well, my girlfriend's here." I'm like, "No, I have eyes. I can see that. But you're still in my seat. So I'm going to need you to vacate my seat because my ticket says that's my seat." And he was like, "I don't understand why you're making it." Like, he was so monotone. He's like, "I don't understand why you're making such a big deal out of this."
I like this seat.
And I'm like, "It's my favorite seat of all time. It's right in the middle of the aisle. I can
Yeah.
see do you want to die today? I don't understand why you're making this difficult. Get out of my seat."
Move.
I'm like, "I'm not getting the usher. I'm going to move you. Get out of my seat."
Mm.
And he was like, "Babe, move over." And he moved over. And now I'm sitting next to this guy that I just threatened for the entire duration of the movie.
That's not cool.
No, I loved it. Because whenever I could feel him look at me, I would just go like this. This is maybe one of my most accomplished moments.
For anybody who can't see, he just moved his eyes side to side and looked to the left.
Just stare right at him. Just look at him. Do something. Do something.
Try me.
Try me. Get all jacked up. You're right, Smalls. You look like you're deep in thought.
I'm thinking about movies.
Yeah. Well, you save that for the next episode.
Wait,
'cause
so you
that's
guys
gonna-
discussed Black Panther? Did I miss that?
No.
No, I was
Did I
just-
miss Wakanda? The best thing that I saw today was it was a meme or something that said like light skin people are not from Wakanda. They're from well kinda.
You should have sent that to me, because that's been my biggest rant
That's
about
amazing.
Black
Oh,
Panther.
that's so good.
I'm like, how there was no light skinned brothers in the movie,
Nope,
Yeah.
not one. Not a single one.
but there was a reason for that. There was women. There was light skinned women.
There were?
Yeah, the soldiers, the warriors.
Oh, that's right.
yeah, but
yeah.
originally they were like, no, it wasn't. How could it be? Because nobody.
There's no light-skinned people in Africa?
No, not naturally.
Really? There's no like light-skinned black people?
Not naturally. No.
At
It's,
all?
it's genetics, man.
Well, I've heard of albinos, but I don't know.
Albino's different.
That's a different thing that doesn't
completely
mix
different.
to become something.
That's a genetic
Yeah.
like
It's a
disorder or
gen-
something.
Why was there no inclusion of genetically defective Wakandans?
Oh my God! Here we
Is
go.
Wakanda perfect? I don't get it. Are their little metal balls that good? They just erase albinoism?
I'm just gonna say that movie had a lot of stuff going on.
What about the rhinos?
A lot of stuff.
What about the rhinos? Oh, my bad.
Yeah, I'm trying to like.
Jumping ahead.
The next
tryna,
episode
like-
is going to be wild. I
tryna,
can
like-
already tell. I can already tell.
All right.
I'm trying not to say anything, but no. To be honest with you, man, it's the reason we're gonna, because we're bringing on the guests, and the reason we're gonna talk about it we're not going to talk about the whole episode. It's not going to be about Black Panther, of course not. But before
Yeah, it is.
before it dies out, there's just a lot of stuff that was going on.
Is it?
My thing.
Is it a special guest?
Yeah.
Is it somebody that was in the movie? Somebody we should know about?
No.
That would be amazing.
But he is an African.
What?
Yeah. No, but you know what? What I've noticed is there's two reactions to the movie. It's like the people like us who can sit there and we can crack jokes and we can analyze some things and we can poke fun and we can be like, oh yeah. And there's people like, yeah, it was a good movie. It's like, oh, okay.
All Sublime holding shit back.
It's like,
That's amazing.
Okay.
I mean, but like it's a movie, but it's a movie that has a lot of stuff going on.
That movie.
More than any Marvel movie has ever had. It's like there's a lot of commentary that can be.
My
like,
personal
fuck, man.
my personal take is like it made me proud to be able to share it with my son.
Mm-hmm.
It was the first movie that I was like, all right, I've been taking you to all your little. We can curse on this, right?
Yeah, of course.
I'm asking no, but I've been taking your little ass to all these fucking Marvel movies. Civil the fuck War with this fucking Iron Soldier with the fucking fist of the whatever the fucks, and then the other guy that's
I'm
made
so
out of
mad
rock.
right now. Those are my favorite movies.
And then the other guy that came out of Galaxia, the Guardians of the whatever the fucks, and then the other one and now there's actually a movie that I want you to sit up and respect. This fucking movie. You sit up when you watch this goddamn movie. No, I was like, I'm so proud that I could share this movie with him, and I was like sitting there, I'm like, finally, and I didn't say shit because as a father, you can't do that. You got to just watch and you got to observe. So I just observed his reactions to certain things. And I was like, and I saw some shit and I was like, I felt something. And I looked over, you better feel that same shit. And he felt it. He looked at me, he felt it. Like I could tell like he was like feeling it too. I was like, all right, you got me. And I was like, and then all the CGI fighting, I was like, that's bullshit, right? And I looked at him and he was like, yeah, it's some bullshit. He was like, yeah, that's don't rhinos. He's like, yeah, whatever, rhinos. He's like, yeah, Iron Man shit, whatever.
Those don't even exist anymore.
Exactly, because now he's grown. He's a big boy now. He grew up on all the Marvel shit. He's 14. He's big now. But it was the first time that I saw a Marvel superhero movie because it's his genre, his generation. It's not my generation. But to see him like really get into it, he understood the meaning of the music. He understood the meaning of the soundtrack. He understood the meaning of the blackness in the movie. The fact that there was African Americans, Africans, just the whole shit mix. Like he understands it. I'm like, how the fuck do you understand? I never fucking read one single book to you about this shit. How do you know that? And I'm like, it's just the culture. You were just born here. You get it. You paid attention. You actually are watching with your ears open, your eyes open, and you're paying attention because he really felt it. And he was really telling me afterwards. He was like, wow, that was like real. He was like, and he was telling me like, and this guy and the bad guy, and I feel for him. And I was like, holy shit, like you get it. I'm like, damn. You fucking get it. I was like, they did it. And that's the only reason why I could say kudos to Marvel. Because they did it, you know what I mean? And it's they as an enterprise, as whatever the fuck they are, a corporation.
Yeah.
But they did it. They actually managed to reach certain people. The other people that you're describing, John, I get it. They have their opinions. Older people like us, we have our own opinions. We have history and baggage. But I was impressed with the young ones, like my son, that get it. They get what's the point. The point is to be inspired, to see something different, to recognize that it's a different representation, you know what I mean? And my son is very light skinned. He's not like, I can't say my sons are like half this and half that, but they acknowledge it, they see it, and they're like, I get it, I get what's happening here. And I think that the story left me personally with a lot to chew on, like the good guy, the bad guy, all spoilers, everybody. Spoiler alerts for everything, but like the good guy, the bad guy, the fucking the difference between an African American and the African experience, and what the Nation of Islam was trying to do in the hood back in the day, what Black Panthers were trying to do back in the day, like all these things, and I'm like, damn, they're really hitting us with the symbolism over the fucking head, like we're blind, and I get it, and I love it. I was like, I love that shit, like they were doing it right. Yeah, man, it was beautiful. It was a beautiful thing. Do I want to watch it again? Yes. Is it the best movie I've ever seen? No.
I like the bald woman.
Yeah. No, that was a powerful statement. The fact that they were bald. When was the first time I saw something like that? Star Trek.
The best thing was the whole right before the fight scene with the wig shit.
Pulled the wig off.
Yeah, she didn't give a fuck.
No, before that, because they were walking into the spot and the girl was like, "Oh, it looks nice on you." She's like, "This shit is stupid."
Yep. Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
I just felt like all the women, it's just like all
The
the women would have
quotes,
like all this shit.
all
in
the
here.
beautiful
It's like,
quotes, man. All the fucking quotes. Fuck it. What is it? Don't tell me something. Colonizer. The other. Oh man, like the quotes were like off the hook.
We gotta stop, man. You're just ruining it for the next episode.
No, this is a good teaser. It's a good taster for the next episode. It's a good episode. This is good. This is good. I like this.
But yeah,
Do you have any art stuff coming up that you want to shout out or anything like that? I don't know if anybody's, if you want to share with anything.
Yo,
with
you
anybody.
said there's a street art thing coming up.
I'm gonna be at the Street Art Expo in New York. There's an art expo. It's a small convention. I joined in because I thought it was interesting. I never saw. It's like a graffiti street art convention for similar to a comic book convention,
Mm-hmm.
but for street art. I never heard of that. And I think this is like their third year maybe.
Okay.
So I just signed on. I got a table. I'm gonna participate in that. It's in June. It's in June. Yeah.
All right, cool.
That's about it.
Do you want to share anything, Smalls?
I'm just working on new art.
All
Yeah.
right.
Finishing projects.
What about you, Chico? What are you up to?
I ain't doing shit, man.
Nice.
No.
He's a photographer.
No, I've got just small shoots, nothing
Hmm.
crazy. Same old, really. Yeah. I mean, anybody? Is there anything else you guys want to cover before we wrap it up?
Carla, anything you want to talk about before we go?
No, nothing else. I think we said it all.
Thank you, Carla.
Where can people check out your stuff?
Yeah, where can they find you?
You can find me anywhere. Just Google search Cortez NYC. Cortez with an S.
Okay. You want to give out your Instagram? Is that a big
Cor-
thing for you?
Cortez NYC.
All
Anywhere online, Cortez NYC, you could find me. Cala de Puerto Rico is all over the place, especially in Puerto Rico. Cala de Puerto Rico. .com.
Smalls?
You can find me at johnsmalls.com or artbysmalls.com on the web.
All right. And you can, of course, find me on Instagram at _Stephen Gomez. All sorts of
Underscore.
weird photography. Yeah, the underscore. Somebody already has my name because just like somebody else has my URL for whatever reason.
Yo, but before we sign out, thank you guys for having us over. Very nice.
Thank you for joining us.
Kudos to the show. You guys are doing a great thing.
We
Thank
didn't
you.
get drunk this time.
No, we didn't. Only had one 6-pack.
The next one.
The next one.
you-
The next one, the Black Panther. The Black Panther one's going to be the rager.
Greg doesn't drink.
Never mind. That one's going to be dry as well. All right. Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us. As always, please follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, the whole shebang. Send us an email. Do you like what we're talking about? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Please send us emails. Don't text me directly. Shoot us an email at our joint email, chicoandthegrin@gmail.com.
Leave
Tweet-
a comment on iTunes.
Yes, and on Google Play. On any way you can leave feedback for us, please do. Again, send emails. Do not text me. I will not respond. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Say bye, Sparks.